You are listening and watching the Peterborough Wolverines Report in partnership with the MNC Podcast Network. We are going to be chatting today specifically about the state of youth sport, especially coming out of the pandemic. And joining us for this discussion is Rick Thompson and Bryan Junkin, both with the Peterborough Wolverines. Rick is the coaching coordinator and Bryan, the assistant general manager. Gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time today. Really appreciate it. It feels good to be talking football.
Good to be back with you, Jordan.
Yeah, it's good to be here, Jordan. Thank you.
First and foremost, and I'll give you both the opportunity to take a crack at this one, all trends right now are pointing to a more normal experience this summer than the previous two. For that and that alone, you must be both very, very excited.
It is definitely good to get back, right? We already had a workout last Saturday with some athletes in Hastings under the dome, and it was so good, right? Parents are happy, kids are happy, coaches. You know, we've all been working hard on the executive behind the scenes to get things going, and with all signs pointing towards things opening back up, it's awesome.
Yeah, we ran into some bumps last summer, so getting some of these kids back out, some of them we haven't seen for a couple of years. It was great to see them come out on the field last weekend. Smiles everywhere. They're just happy to be out there tossing the football around again. So it's great, and hopefully we continue and into the summer.
For somebody out there who might be watching or listening who knows about the Peterborough Wolverines, but maybe is a little bit more removed from that, maybe they're deciding whether their son wants to get involved in something like this. Tell me a little bit about the Wolverines program as a whole. What sort of levels are there? What sort of age groups are there? And then we can follow up.
I'll let Bryan talk a little bit about the U10 and U12 stuff and how it ties even to the Kinsman Peterborough Football League that's been around for a number of years. But the Wolverines have added in a couple new teams, but basically right from U10 up to U18, so under 18 all the way down to U10, it's all tackle football. It's what they call rep football. They travel around the province. They're playing teams from other cities. Other cities are coming into Peterborough. Home field is Tass, Thomas A. Stewart High School. Lots of coaches, lots of investment in time and effort to make it the best possible product it is. And actually, this is the 12th season, and they're still trying to celebrate their 10th anniversary because of all those COVID speed bumps you spoke about a minute ago. But yeah, so it's been around for 12 seasons now. And so lots of opportunity for kids to have played. And Bryan, why don't you talk a little bit about the new programs we've added?
Yeah, so as Rick said, we added the U12 and the U10 teams this year to the Wolverines, the Ontario Summer Football League they play in. There's just been a demand. We came out of COVID, kids wanting something to do. So we had some experience last year with them through some grassroots programs through the KMFL with those age groups, the CFL Futures and our First Down programs. And that got some more kids involved, and then they started asking over the winter about the younger teams, if there was any possibilities. And we only run with KMFL in the fall, so we worked with the Wolverines and brought on the two younger teams, U12 and U10. We got two great coaching staffs that are in place already with there, and the rosters are filling up, so it looks like those two teams are going to be a success, and it just adds to the offerings that we have as a group for football in Peterborough.
For both of your perspectives, because we know that the recreation dollar for any family is extremely competitive. Both of you are very involved in football. I'm sure in your past you've been involved in other sports as well. Why do you feel like football, especially at a younger age, is a very good sport to kind of get involved in?
Yeah, I'll take this one, Rick. So dealing with the younger kids, football teaches so many life lessons. That's why I know that's why I'm personally here. I know that's why Rick is here to pass on some of these lessons that we can. But just teamwork and accountability, taking initiative, teamwork, drive, and we hit bumps and failure too. And you learn how we explain how you learn from that as well. All transferable life lessons over to careers in the future. And really, we're working to make the citizens, that we start with the kids, better citizens as they grow up and into adulthood and start to contribute to the community a bit more. So really, we're ecstatic about being able to do that. And I know why. It's why I come back every year. It's always the kids and seeing those light bulbs come on, seeing them learn those life lessons and how to work with each other and camaraderie and all that. And those are important. They're invaluable lessons, really.
Yeah, and I'm sure you'd echo many of those comments.
I want to say, Jordan, I think he may have stole one of the first lines of my note here. Says football teaches life lessons, right? And as a high school teacher, right, and I've had the opportunity to coach a lot of students in football and the life lessons. And then what I do as a teacher, I'm a co-op teacher, right? Those things that employers are looking for, right? Some of the words that Bryan just talked about, right? Initiative, collaboration, all of those things are taught in a holistic way, right? When a play works, you've had 12 people, or in our younger age groups, it's going to be 6 people out on that field, 9 players, whatever it is. It takes the entire group of offense or defense to make a play work, whether it's scoring a touchdown, stopping a touchdown, punting a ball, right? And those are the things where in today's society where it's a microwave generation, right? Everybody wants everything instantly. Football teaches you that it's the hard work and it's the journey, right? It's not that destination. That every week you practice a lot more than you ever play in football too, which is an interesting thing for people to learn, right? A lot of people want instant gratification. And football, with our adding the 2 younger teams now, parents and kids are going to have an opportunity to watch and see themselves develop as their bodies change from different sizes and as they get stronger and faster and stuff like that. So yeah, so many of those life lessons, and Bryan and I have had the success to coach together, and we're both wearing our championship rings here from 2017, and Braden, who's just off screen here right now, was on that defensive staff, and I know Patrick Asst and Ken Butcher, the head coach. So many of the things that we said continually came true, right? Controlling the controllable, not too high, not too low. Those things, those kids, those players were always prepared simply for the fact that, in practice and being together and just having that influence for players to listen to us really paid off in the long run. And I've seen it now with former players coming back and coaching as well. Do they want to give back? So
I think one of my favorite things that lures me and draws me into football is the idea that there are so many skill sets that are needed. If you're not a big person, that's okay. There's still spots that you can go. If you don't run as fast, there's still spots that you can go. And it really is, as you pointed to, the ultimate team game of people of different shapes and sizes. And I think that's something when you're talking to youth who are looking to get involved is man, there are so many different ways that you can be a successful football player.
For sure, right? All of the small skills that it takes, and the detail, right? The attention to detail, which again, going back, these are post football playing career skills, right? That in whatever job, whatever employment these people are looking to get into, those little attention to detail things and listening and learning and working together really, really pay off, right? When it comes to that.
Talk to me about the success of the program. You mentioned you both have very nice championship rings, but I think that's something that should be highlighted as well is, Peterborough, the Wolverines as an organization, really strive to be competitive with the best programs from around Ontario.
Yeah, for sure. So they originally started in 2010, I believe it was, with just a Bantam team, and they thought that was going to be the only team, but there was enough kids that came out. They demanded that we run a JV team. So the next year we ran a JV team. Then we got the demand to run a senior varsity team after that. So in 3 years, we had implemented 3 teams when it was only a plan to have 1 team over the first 5 years. But it was so successful. That, coupled with the success of the program, immediately we started winning Ramsey Conference banners. I believe we have about 10 of them hanging right now, and a provincial championship. So we were the only team in the 35 years of the OFC to actually win a northern team, win a championship at any level, age level. So a highly successful program, and probably the jewel of the OFC for game day celebrations and the game day atmosphere, because we really believe that it's an experience to come in. You walk in, we have barbecues going, we have concession stands going, we got somebody announcing the game and calling out sponsors, that kind of thing. So, and on top of, 50-50 and raffles and different contests and stuff. And we're actually looking to expand that experience this summer by bringing in some other groups that we can couple up with and perhaps have some success that way. So.
Game day atmosphere, certainly second to none when you look around football at that level, and also one-of-a-kind facilities when you talk about what you're able to use over at Thomas A. Stewart's.
Yeah, it's Thomas A. Stewart, so it's been there. We were actually instrumental in getting that field put in. We were part of the group that originally went in and raised some funds for that field to have it come in, and it was the only turf field in town at that time. But it's a great facility. You come over the hill there, you can grab a burger at the top of the hill there, and it's just a great atmosphere when you're coming in. There's music blaring over the field while the players are warming up, and we got people in Wolverines gear walking the crowd, offering this and that to them. So it really was what that the UFC has commended us on our game day experience. So and we're just looking to make it better as we go forward.
You mentioned, tackle football, right, at the older ages, and there's always going to be a little bit of concern when it comes to safety. But I know with the Wolverines, as well as the entire, football body in Ontario, safety is always paramount, and the proper skills are taught in order to ensure that that's the case.
Yeah, for sure. That's part of my job as the coaching coordinator. I'll be working closely with the Ontario Football Association to make sure that all of our coaches and volunteers have gone through proper certification. Some of those certifications are online through e-learning. Others are in-person courses that people will take, how to learn to do the actual safe tackling, right? How to keep your head out of the game. When Bryan and I were younger playing, right, it was always kind of put your head in, bite the ball, stuff like that. Now we've smartened up, right, with technology and lots of different things. The game is advanced where there's a lot of things in life that we're smarter with, right? And football's one of those that there's far less contact even than when Bryan and I started coaching together 10 years ago with the Wolverines. We don't do those same drills, right? We're not, it's not the meat grinder. There's a lot more emphasis on the actual technique and skill versus just putting two players against each other and running them through the gauntlet, right? So that's a big piece of it. As far as safety goes, right, the Wolverines and the KMFL are constantly upgrading their equipment. Again, Andy McCardle from Riddell was just in the city last week. He was going through all of our helmets. They'll be sent out for recertification. Again, that's another implementation from Football Canada and the OFA and obviously the Wolverines and KMFL is to make sure that the equipment is as safe as it can possibly be. And obviously, again, with our coaching philosophy stuff, right, is making sure the coaches understand how to properly structure drills, how far players should be apart from each other when they're doing drills. It should be, like I mentioned earlier, it should be on the rise, right? You don't start day one, going full speed. You work up so that everybody's comfortable. And that's, again, something where Bryan and I are both huge on communication. If a parent's going to sign up, we've got a few things in place that we're going to be creating something we've never done in this city. It's happened in a lot of other places, but Football 101. So any new parents that don't understand the game, don't understand the different parts of the drills, we're literally going to give them an opportunity as adults to come out and work with some of our coaches and players to really actually get to experience what it's like to play football and do some practice drills and stuff like that and build, again, some more community and camaraderie. The three C's, right? Community, camaraderie, and COVID have kind of really not gone well together. Right? Mm-hmm. So COVID's forced us all to have to sit home and stay at home alone. And so as we get, as you mentioned earlier, to come back out of this hibernation, is we want to really welcome a lot of new families. And it's a great game to learn. And that's part of what Bryan will talk a little bit later about the KMFL for younger kids, but even for the Wolverines right now with the winter workouts, it's an opportunity for players to get a chance to come out and start to learn those basic safety fundamentals.
Commitment level. What's the average commitment level for a player who is part of the Wolverines program in terms of games versus practices and workouts and all of that?
Well, so we usually start up in February with some winter workouts on Saturdays for an hour and a half out at Hastings. Those are mostly just to blow the rust off the kids and the coaches. But then we usually start practices up about the first week of April or as soon as we can get on the field, that the snow's off. And then we're looking at probably 2 practices a week and a game on Saturdays. Games start up about mid-May, and we hope to be playing in the first weekend of August because that's the championship weekend. But playoffs start mid-July. So, and they get usually half our games are home games and half are away. So, so the commitment would be, 2 practices a week and 1 game on Saturdays. You may or may not travel out of the city. So, but we have busing set up and everything for the players.
You mentioned that some of the winter workouts have already began, and that's great. But there is still time to register if you're interested in becoming part of the program, right?
For sure. There definitely is. And we'll make sure that we get you guys the information as well here to put out our social medias. But we are on Peterborough Wolverines are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So all of those avenues, as well as our website, peterboroughwolverines.ca. For more information as well for registration. So,
you mentioned the Kinsman Minor Football League. How joined are they with the Wolverines, or are they two completely separate things?
So the Wolverines were actually born from the KMFL. It was the existing board at that time that sat down and came up with the idea to put a rep team in. So we've always been linked through coach overlaps and some admin overlaps too. But this year we sat down with the Wolverines and the KMFL boards as one and decided that we would join forces and become one board, and we're in the process of getting that worked out. It just helps us strengthen what we can offer from football. So we can actually offer between the two groups, we can actually offer football from age of 4 up until 18 with some of our grassroots programs, and then up through KMFL, and then up through into the rep program with the Wolverines. So we're still working out a couple kinks with it, but Peterborough football, as we're starting to call it a little bit with the two organizations, we're building a strong foundation to go forward based off the strengths of both clubs as we've come. KMFL's 42 years in the city. It's synonymous with football in the fall. And the Wolverines have been around for 12 years now, 10 actually playing with COVID, and a very successful program. So we're excited about where new partnership's going to take us, and we may look at expanding that out into the community, possibly with the high schools as the years go on.
I think one thing that I have to say is that in terms of competitiveness and the players that are being graduated through the Wolverine program, you're seeing success at all kinds of levels, professional levels, down in the United States, and even here in college. So if you're a parent and you're considering football as an option, I mean, that's something that's not just limited to hockey. There are opportunities beyond high school for football players.
Exactly, for sure, right? And some of the players that are going to start, as we've talked earlier about the U10 and the U12 playing smaller side, it's not going to look like CFL or NFL football. It's going to be smaller number, 6-a-side and 9-a-side at those younger ages. It's safer for kids to learn. They're also going to learn the skills better. Offensive lineman type people are going to be getting passes thrown to them. So again, developing more football skill. Two guys that have went through the Wolverine program as well as out at Norwood High School, Silas and Owen Hubert. Owen's up at McMaster University. Silas is started as a first-year player at Queen's University. John Gratton's another player that's just signed with Queen's University to play. And we've also had Jared Wayne. He's down at the University of Pitt. He played way back in the Bantam years. And so you don't have to always stick with the entire Wolverines for all the way through, right? It's a great place to start. It depends. It's going to whet your appetite. We've got guys right now. Jacob Hoy has just had his signing day. Again, another guy who's played football, started later. He only started in high school. And he's just recently signed with McMaster. And Henry Walsh has had the opportunity to work with Warren Goldie, who just finished up coaching the CJFL season with the Skyhawks, and he's been working at the elite passing camp with Warren, and he's one of the top recruits right now as well as a quarterback who will be with the Wolverines this year. And Will McCullough is a guy, Will and I were just chatting last night. Unfortunately, he's not going to come to the Skyhawks with me. He's going to go down to St. Clair and play for the Fratmen, but there are a lot of opportunities for post-secondary players, and I think that's really a big piece, right, that students who typically come to school for football at high school, right? And the high school has been a huge success as well in Peterborough over the last number of years. A lot of the high school coaches are now involved in the Wolverines, and that wasn't always the case, but recently, we've really come together, and that partnership is developing and blossoming. And as you see, Holy Cross and Tass and Adam Scott are always near the top of the Kawartha and CASA level. So it's important that parents recognize that, right? That there are opportunities to help kids engage in school. And one other piece that if people haven't followed the news, this isn't just for boys anymore. Football is a sport. Especially Bryan can talk a little bit about girls getting involved in the KMFL at a young age. And the BC Lions just hired a full-time female coach, and we welcome young girls to come out and play. Bryan and I coached a girl a couple years ago on our team who was a soccer player, and she wanted to come out and try football, and she was awesome. So that's there are definitely opportunities for both boys and girls in high school season, and then in obviously the rep and for the younger students. Bryan, you want to talk a little bit more about what KMFL offers?
Yeah, so we've had girls play, and we're working to get more females involved. We've started up some grassroots programs for as young as 4 to get kids involved in football. And then obviously as they come up through, they would get into the KMFL ranks and come up through U10, U12, U14, and then on to rep. So definitely it's a sport that anybody can try at the younger ages to see if they want to give it a shot.
Rick and Bryan, thank you so much for all this great information. I'm sure we'll be catching up again soon.
Thanks, Jordan.
Thanks, Jordan.
This has been the Peterborough Wolverines Report in partnership with the MNC Podcast Network.